When we envision the ultimate aquatic predator, the mind instinctively drifts toward the cinematic grace of the great white shark or the staggering whale-eating proportions of the prehistoric megalodon. We view these as the pinnacle of marine lethality. However, a journey back into the depths of the Paleozoic era, specifically the Devonian period, spanning from 419 to 358 million years ago, unveils a nightmare of a completely different order. This was the age of fishes, a time when evolution was experimenting with radical anatomical designs that have no true modern parallels. At the summit of this alien food chain sat Dunkleosteus terrelli, a monster of such profound power that it did not merely inhabit the ocean. It governed it through a combination of heavy metal armor and a jaw mechanism that essentially turned its face into a pair of self-sharpening industrial shears. Dunkleosteus was a member of the Placodermi, a class of prehistoric fish characterized by dermal bone, essentially skin that had hardened into massive external plates of armor. Unlike the bony fish of today, which possess internal skeletons and thin scales, or sharks, which are composed of soft cartilage, the placoderms were living fortresses. The most striking feature of Dunkleosteus was its biological helmet. Its head and thoracic region were entirely encased in heavy plates of bone that reached thicknesses of up to 5 centimeters, 2 inches. This was not a passive shell. It was a highly integrated part of the animal's physiology. These plates protected the vital organs and the brain, but they also served as the structural foundation for its terrifying bite. Because the armor was external, Dunkleosteus did not have the fleshy, flexible cheeks of a mammal, or even the soft gill covers of a modern salmon. Instead, it was an armored juggernaut, swimming through the primeval seas, inside a suit of biological rock. One of the most frequent errors people make when looking at a Dunkleosteus skull in a museum is referring to its teeth. Biologically, Dunkleosteus was toothless. True teeth are distinct structures rooted in the jaw, but Dunkleosteus took a more direct evolutionary path. It utilized the very bone of its jaw as its cutting edge. Its jaw was equipped with massive sharpened blades known as gnathal plates. These were extensions of the jawbone itself that protruded out of the mouth. The upper plates, superognathals, and lower plates, infrarognathals, were aligned with mathematical precision. Through a phenomenon known as shearing, as the fish opened and closed its mouth, the surfaces of these plates rubbed against one another. This constant friction did not dull the weapons, rather it functioned as an automated sharpening system. Every time Dunkleosteus opened its mouth to breathe or strike, it was effectively honing its cleavers to a razor edge. This ensured that throughout its life, its bite never lost its lethal potency, regardless of how many armored shells or shark skeletons it sliced through. While its weaponry was formidable, the true genius of Dunkleosteus lay in its biomechanics. For a very long time, paleontologists struggled to understand how such a heavy, slow-moving armored fish could catch the smaller, more agile sharks and fish that shared its habitat. The answer was found through a study of its skull joints. Dunkleosteus utilized a 4-bar linkage jaw mechanism. This complex arrangement of hinges allowed the fish to snap its jaws open with incredible velocity, opening its mouth in approximately 20 milliseconds, 1/50th of a second. In the dense medium of water, this sudden explosive expansion created a localized drop in pressure. The result was a powerful underwater vacuum. Any prey animal within striking distance was not just bitten, it was physically inhaled into the mouth by the rushing water. This allowed Dunkleosteus to overcome its lack of swimming speed. It didn't need to chase its prey over long distances. It only needed to get close enough to trigger its suction trap, pulling the victim into the bone cleavers before the prey's nervous system could even register the danger. In 2007, a landmark study conducted by researchers at the University of Chicago and the Field Museum utilized computer modeling to quantify the bite force of Dunkleosteus. The results were staggering. Scientists calculated that the fish could exert a pressure of up to 1,100 pounds of force at the back of its jaw. However, Because of the shape of its fangs, the sharp pointed tips at the front of the jaw, that pressure was concentrated into a tiny surface area. This concentration generated a localized pressure of approximately 8,000 to 11,000 pounds per square inch, psi. To put this in perspective, this bite force is more than double that of a modern saltwater crocodile and rivals the devastating power of a Tyrannosaurus rex. This astronomical pressure was an evolutionary necessity. The Devonian seas were filled with other armored placoderms, trilobites with hard exoskeletons, and early cephalopods with thick shells. Dunkleosteus was the only animal in the world capable of cleanly shattering these defenses, slicing through bone and shell as if they were soft tissue. For nearly a century, the popular image of Dunkleosteus was that of a massive eel-like sea monster, stretching 30 to 33 feet in length. This estimate was based on the size of the fossilized armored head, which was then compared to the proportions of modern sharks. However, there was a significant problem. The back half of Dunkleosteus was made of cartilage, which does not fossilize well. We were essentially guessing the length of the tail based on animals that weren't even related to it. In 2023, paleontologist Russell Engelman published a groundbreaking study that revolutionized our understanding of the animal's size. By analyzing orbital opercular measurements, the distance between the eye and the back of the skull, and comparing them to a wider range of fish species, Engelman determined that the 30-foot estimate was a wild exaggeration. The real Dunkleosteus was likely only 11 to 15 feet long. However, while it was shorter than previously thought, it was much more massive. The study suggested that Dunkleosteus was not a long, slender serpent, but a chunk with a deep, wide body similar to a giant tuna. It was an extremely dense block of muscle and bone. This new super tuna model actually makes the animal more terrifying. It suggests a predator with a low center of gravity and immense torque, capable of generating massive power in short bursts. It was a heavy tank version of a predator, built for brute strength rather than endurance racing. The ferocity of Dunkleosteus was not limited to other species. Evidence suggests that it was an indiscriminate opportunist and a frequent cannibal. Fossilized boluses, balls of regurgitated food, have been found in Devonian rock strata. Because Dunkleosteus could not digest the heavy bone plates of the placoderms it ate, it would digest the meat and then vomit up the indigestible armor. Many of these fossilized boluses contain the crushed remains of smaller Dunkleosteus. This paints a picture of a brutal, high-stakes ecosystem. In a world where food was a constant struggle, Dunkleosteus viewed everything as a potential source of energy, including its own kin. This cannibalistic nature meant that the primary threat to a Dunkleosteus was not a shark or a sea scorpion, but an even larger Dunkleosteus. If we were to place a modern great white shark in a tank with a Dunkleosteus, the biological mismatch would be evident within seconds. The great white is a master of the hit-and-run tactic, relying on its speed and serrated teeth to cause massive bleeding in soft-bodied seals. But against Dunkleosteus, the shark's teeth designed for flesh would find no purchase. Striking the head of a Dunkleosteus would be equivalent to a human trying to bite a granite countertop. The shark's teeth would likely shatter upon impact with the 2-inch thick bone helmet. Conversely, the Dunkleosteus would only need to land a single strike. Its bone blades were designed to slice through the very material the shark's skull is made of. A single bite from a Dunkleosteus would not just wound a great white, it would likely bisect the shark entirely. The modern predator is a refined, high-speed hunter, but the Dunkleosteus was a primitive, unstoppable demolition machine. Despite its near invincibility from the front, Dunkleosteus had a critical weakness: its rear. The heavy bone armor ended abruptly at the midsection. The tail, which provided the propulsion, was fleshy and soft, lacking the protection of the head. This created a massive blind spot and a target for smaller, faster scavengers. Early sharks of the Devonian, such as Cladocelidae, were significantly smaller and possessed no armor. However, they were faster and more maneuverable. These sharks likely survived by nipping at the exposed tails of the slow-moving Dunkleosteus. Furthermore, in battles between two Dunkleosteus, the individual that could outmaneuver the other to reach the soft tail was almost guaranteed victory. It was a life of constant vigilance. For all its power, the king was always one tail bite away from catastrophe. The fall of Dunkleosteus was not caused by a superior predator, but by its own environmental requirements. Around 358 million years ago, the Earth underwent the Hindenburg event, a mass extinction that decimated marine life. Massive changes in climate led to a severe drop in ocean oxygen levels, anoxia. For an animal as massive and muscular as Dunkleosteus, oxygen was the essential fuel. A high-mass, high-power predator requires a constant, high-oxygen environment to maintain its metabolism. As oxygen levels in the Devonian oceans plummeted, the biological ceiling for large animals crashed. The smaller, more efficient sharks, which required far less food and oxygen, were able to navigate the crisis. Dunkleosteus, trapped in a body that required more energy than the planet could provide, essentially suffocated and starved out of existence. It was a victim of its own success, an over-specialized giant in a world that had suddenly become small. Today, Dunkleosteus serves as one of the most important case studies in evolutionary biology. It represents a trial run of vertebrate life, a successful 50-million-year reign of armored titans that ultimately left no direct descendants. When the placoderms went extinct, the oceans were left to the sharks and the bony fish, designs that favored agility and internal skeletons over heavy external plating. The cleaver-headed king of the Devonian remains a testament to the raw creativity of nature. It proves that there is more than one way to build a monster. Though it has been gone for over 350 million years, the sight of its massive, bone-bladed skull remains one of the most intimidating sights in any natural history museum, a silent, stony reminder of a time when the seas belonged to the tanks.